INDX Global. In conversation with Arc Daily and Design Boom, powered by Woodvisor.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
My name is Claire Broadka. I'm managing editor at Designboom, and we are all here today with INDX Global at Milan Design Week. We are discussing materializing the future. And I have three lovely guests with me, and I would just like to ask you all to introduce yourselves, and then we'll start with some questions.
Sure.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
I'll go first. I'm Rachna Agarwal. I'm the custodian of two design firms. One is Studio IAAD, which designs, wherein we do all interior architecture related to public domain. The other one is called Zoera. We say we do biospheric homes out there, which is where we do private homes and wherein we cover the complete design scope. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Vaibhav Dimri. I'm founding partner of Anagram Architects. And we try to do innovative stuff. I guess that's what it is.
Trying is the best.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Hi, I am Dinesh Panwar from Urbanscape Architects.
Thank you.
Good enough.
That's it. That's all we need. So I would love to start with a little bit of a more overarching question, which is, how are you in your own practices, or maybe you can answer as a discipline or in your own personal kind of case studies, moving from sustainable design to regenerative design?
I can start.
She's prepared.
So I think from the time it shifted from sustainable design to regenerative design, and I started reading about it, we realized that we were already doing it in one form or the other. It's just that what we were doing, a name has been given to that. So for me, I would put it in a way saying that the regenerative design for me is to design for generations, right? And we have been doing that in two different ways. One is to design your spaces which are adaptable, flexible, so they remain relevant for all the generations to come. They're not static, they're living. The second one, when it comes to designing people's home, and I said we do biospheric homes. What that means is that we are actually designing for every stakeholder over generations, wherein we are trying to again say that let the design be relevant for many years. Let's just stop defining the shelf life for design. And if everybody is not just an occupant and a participant, we would realize that would happen automatically in the designs that we do for our clients.
I think I completely agree. And I think in India, the idea of sustainable design, and ever since we've been practicing, our idea always has been to look at sustainability as adaptability, as a social sustainability, as something which can be regenerated, whether it's building, whether it's space, whether it's product. And it is an inherent part of Indian culture, I would say. So if we are really looking back, and I think what has happened in past couple of years in India is there's a resurgence of cultural interest within the architects itself.
Right.
There was a time when we were growing up, I think we were all looking at the West a lot to take inspiration, but now I think all of us are looking inwards and looking at things around us to take inspiration. And what we realize that inherently our culture had the sustainability, what we understand it as, inbuilt, without the technology, without the solar panels and all of that. The way the houses were designed, or the way the spaces were designed, or how the market was used, was always multifunctional, multi-use, because we had to cater to so many people with less resource. So because of that, I think inherently, and all of us are inherently that, as in what clothes we wear, what things we buy, how we cook, all of that is part of the culture to be regenerative, to reuse, to adapt, to find new ways to do the same thing.
Right.
So I think for us, it comes very, very naturally, this idea of regeneration.
Yeah, this is something that's come up actually before in previous sessions where, there's such a dichotomy between the way that, Western societies build homes, especially, the multi-generational aspect is not so much a factor, at least where I come from, which is Germany. Some other, Southern European countries have that a lot more, which I think is fantastic. And it should be, as you say, that way of living inherently makes for more regenerative design, because you're thinking not just for the parents or for 15 years or for 80 years, but you're thinking, how does this house adapt to the generations after? What if a child moves out? What if a child moves back in?
Exactly.
So I think that's
I think it's, and as he said, that over years, and especially after COVID, right? People are coming back to staying in the same house.
Yeah.
Right? Or same home. And suddenly you realize that the same resources are being used for many more people. The houses will remain relevant for maybe 30, 40 years, right? And as long as we're not making the same thing again and again, I think we are already generating a system and a community which is very sustainable.
Right. Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. So also, I think I believe, we make the cheapest buildings in the world in terms of the cost that we. So by default, I think we tend to use that same stuff. We try and make it adaptable. Use it, adapt. It should adapt it in a manner that it can be used consistently and for generations. And costing, I think, plays a very important role. And that is probably one reason, we try to be a lot more vernacular in our approach, use a lot of local materials.
Because you said cheap, which can sometimes lead to thinking that the durability or the quality is not of the same, but that's not the case. It's because it's the transport, like everything else. Yeah, exactly.
So, but I don't know, somehow, we tried using a particular material which is quite sustainable in one part of the world, but somehow, when you try and import it to your site, it becomes, it doesn't become, doesn't remain sustainable.
Yeah, it loses that aspect then.
Yeah, I think
so being local, being vernacular, but unfortunately, because of the cities we are building, that local factor is diluting.
I think the way. Sorry, I'm sort of agreeing with you in the sense of how West looks at sustainability, and how we have to and have been traditionally looking at sustainability is very, very different. Because I think a lot of products which are deemed sustainable, like what you're saying, for us, they are just not sustainable at all, primarily because of cost and importing and all of that. And if you consider all of that, it's much better to figure out a way, and that's what I think all of us do, figure out a more sort of local way to reach the same sort of goals to some extent. So I think for us, it's a very, I think being cost effective is a huge sustainability aspect also.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, for our type of work here.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And how do you, what are your methodologies or your tools for finding these materials within your vicinity? Is that easy? Have you had to do a lot of research, or does it, because of the way of building and because of where you are based, maybe with your firms, is that something that just happens organically from the surrounding?
So we did a project in Rajasthan. So the architecture of that place, the vernacular work that you see all around, that itself guides you to the materials. Or if you're doing a project in hills, the local material, probably the pine wood, the slate that you get. Right. So it is already available. You probably just have to contemporize it or use it as per your design methodology.
Site specific.
But there is obviously a conflict here as well, in the sense that, for example, there's another phenomena of ease of availability of mechanized or industrialized materials.
Exactly.
Right? So, traditionally, houses were not made of concrete or steel, right? They were made of actually the local material which is available on site and stuff. Now, obviously, I don't think that is practical anymore, because it's, even if you're building in the hills or in Rajasthan, if you're building, every building there was made of purely stone, and the stone is really available still there. But I think because of norms and because of other and availability of concrete, for example, so obviously your main material still becomes concrete.
Right.
You tend to then add things and use the local material as much as you can, but your base material remains steel or concrete.
Right.
For construction, which is also a lot of times, like for example, the hills, it's very difficult to really actually get stone cleanly. A lot of time it's very unclean,
Yes.
the way you procure local materials.
And then that again involves material, transport, everything. Yeah.
So there is this balance which you need to figure out, and obviously all of us over the period of our practice have figured out that
Yes.
balance.
Yeah, so for me, it's a bit different,
Yeah,
right?
please.
Because these guys do more architecture and
Yes.
I do more interiors, right? For us, it's a bit different because I believe that ultimately, whatever we design, right, and whatever we get for the client, it has a lot of aesthetics involved with that. And I believe whatever is good and designed well is what a project deserves, be it anywhere in the world. The only main thing is that we should make sure, right, that we love it and our client loves it. So there is no use and throw policy, right? If it is there, it should be like, if there is an object which is being imported, say from wherever in the world, right, it should have the capability of becoming an heirloom piece ultimately.
Again, this timeline aspect. Yeah.
Timeline aspect. So so that's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
we
yeah.
we work on it. Architecture, of course, is a different game altogether. But when it comes to interiors, the objectivity of the project changes completely.
For sure.
Right. So I'm not saying that. So for me, it doesn't matter where it is. It's be it next door in a lane next door, or it might be somewhere in architect region, but it has to be good and we have to love it.
Right. Which I think, again, is speaking to the, moving from sustainable to regenerative aspect, because I think time is something that, is so crucial here. Is we're designing not for something to, again, last for, or be beautiful in your case for 10, 20 years, but maybe 50 or 100 years. In an ideal world, these buildings, these interiors, they outlive you.
Yeah.
They should outlive, right? Like if you put a stone, right, and we use Italian stone all over, right, we have to make sure that it is timeless and relevant for all the time that will come, right? You see any of the buildings in Milan, you see any of the materials, they have been there for 100+ years and still you see them and you love them, right? So, yeah.
Are there any materials that you've personally kind of rediscovered for a modern age, like older materials? I mean, we've talked about stone, obviously, and it doesn't have to be older materials, but is there anything that, in terms of material quality, that you might have in your recent projects or just research kind of rediscovered or discovered for yourselves that you might not have thought of before you entered the actual practicing?
So, coming back to that same point, Vaibhav, we just started a building which is complete stone masonry, no concrete involved. In fact, the slabs are also stone, post-tensioned stone slabs. So it involves a lot of engineering. But the best part is that probably 100 years down the line, you want to just open up the entire structure, shift it someplace, reuse it. That is possible. It is, so it's a big challenge that we are working on.
It's all jointed together. There's no bed.
So the way you make bridges.
Yeah.
So different pieces come, like concrete, precast concrete blocks, and you post tension them. So you get these stone slabs. You post tension them, and then stone masonry. So it takes care of of insulation, of weathering, of aging.
The slab would be like a thick slab.
Yeah, it's, and also the best part is you need minimum stone processing in stone masonry. A slab requires more processing.
Absolutely.
When you use it as a fascia material or as a cladding material, you require
As a building material, it not need that much of processing there.
The maintenance isn't as high either, I would assume. I mean, the
cost of processing, the energy you are putting into to process a stone, to polish it, to put chemicals on it. So that is the purest form of
Using sandstone, what are you using?
some sort of marble.
you must speak to the guys upstairs from Solid Nature. Yeah, they've got a whole installation with marble and ancient stone, and that's their whole business, is kind of like resurrecting that for modern architects. It's beautiful. I mean, they made a supermarket out of stone, which is fun. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but you should walk through it.
So I think I would mention two materials which have been there like forever, right? It's not new. It's something which has been there, and I think at some point it's better to use materials which have stood the test of time, right? But not to say that new materials are not welcomed, right? But yes, so one material that and I think both the materials have the capability of them being used in various ways, not one particular way to be molded all over. One is terrazzo, which we have been using in India. We were brought up with terrazzo on the floors, right? And somewhere it just got lost. It became one of the materials which were available. But yes, now we are trying to get it back, and I think it's a great way of recycling stone, like leftover stone, right? And we are trying to design spaces wherein you use the stone slabs, right? And out of the waste, then you start generating terrazzo with the same stone. Therefore, it's like a circular system. You've closed the loop on your site itself. The second one is more where, again, India was almost what we call as straw art, right? There's a state called Kerala, like they were doing straw art. And till the time straw marquetry came into the business, right? And suddenly from a very, very basic agricultural product, you started making art out of that, right? Again, a material which is very, very versatile, right? Can be used on furniture, can be used on wall claddings, can be used on ceilings, right? So I really like straw marquetry also as one of the products and the materials.
I mean, there's certain, the Madan in Iraq, they construct
amazing,
floating cities out of these reeds.
And that India has so much, so a lot of straw marquetry is now being done in India because we have the craftsmen to do it. We have the material available, and then we have the craftsmanship available to be able to do it.
And it's interesting you bring up craftsmanship, because that is, again, something that we mentioned yesterday, which is where, India has such a rich culture of making and craftspeople, and it, depending on the different regions, it's so different. You mentioned the straw, but there's so many other materials, and the skill to be able and to know how to work with it effectively is so readily available. But again, it's been forgotten in a way, and it's not so trendy, and it's not so, I think what you were saying to the, millwork aspect, of course you need a certain amount of concrete, you need a certain amount of steel, but to kind of resurrect these crafts, to make them scalable in a way, would be, that is the true, I think, regenerative aspect of what we could.
Yeah. And I think India now, if you see it, what has changed over a few years is that we always had these two aspects available to us. But there is a lot of design inputs that have started coming. There are product designers, people have started working, they have studios working on to how to make a very basic material into a hero material, right? That's changed. That's completely changed, right? We didn't have that aesthetic input coming into the market, but now we have it in abundance.
And is that aesthetic input coming from external, or is that already within, and it's just being
within India? I think the designers within India, what you're saying,
the product designer and NID and all, people are taking it up as a profession, right, to build up onto this typology and presenting it to the material, to the market, and and people becoming very they're accepting all the new materials. So that's really good.
And rediscovering the old ones.
In fact, like yesterday, I saw, like, if you happen to go to a design district, an amazing bar counter in Terrazzo. Like, I can't tell you how beautiful it was, right? So yeah, like, people are doing great work.
Yeah, and that's exciting. And I think, for all of us, obviously, with events like these coming together, seeing other things, that's exciting because it kind of, globalization has many other effects, but this is a good one.
This is a really
This is a really good one, is that we get to share these crafts and these ideas.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, I think, there's this one famous saying that, an idea is never really original, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
It's that's perfect. It shouldn't, it's wonderful
They're
if
also
there's
getting
something exactly, and it's a regenerative. We're recycling ideas. No, but I think it's beautiful that something, even if it's subconscious, has sparked an idea, and if you can trace it back to that, which most of the time we can't because it might be too far back or it's so deep down. But it's a beautiful thing to be able to like collect these ideas and these inputs and come back and make something beautiful out of it. I think.
Yeah, and I think material is not only I would say a material is not only what you use the first time, right? Yeah. Like, for example, like, I would say from ourselves as well, like, 6-7 years back, if somebody would have come and said, oh, I have this existing furniture, right? You use them, right? And you're like, oh my God, like, how can you use it? Like, your design will get impacted or anything. But today we're not doing that. Right. We are actually saying, please bring it on, right? And we are ready to reuse it, right? It's a challenge, right? It's a brief for us. So why not do it, right? Or be able to say, okay, like, we have clients for whom we are probably making their third home, right? Yes. Like first home, second home, third home, right? And hopefully not the last home. Right? So we are actually moving because we have lived almost their life with them, right? So we are moving furniture from one project to another, right? Reusing them, and we are happy to do them. For them, it becomes their way to be. Right. And for us, it's a great way to, again, be regenerative. I think that's a big, and how furniture and any of these, like, they take a lot of energy to make.
Of course, yeah. So it's important and it's beautiful that it then moves with
it moves
the household, as do you, which is again a very different.
And the design gets evolved.
Exactly,
right?
And again, that's a very different aspect to, I think, Indian culture, but also like the way that architecture and architects work within that construct. Because in the West, architects design a building and they leave it alone, and there's never like interaction with the family.
I think there is a lot of hand-holding, and there's a lot of. So you almost become like a relative of theirs.
Exactly. Live their life.
Which is so different, and I love this.
Yeah. It's like you know everything about them and they know everything about you. In that sense, by the end of it.
We actually, we have family doctors, we have family lawyers,
and
now we have family architects as well.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. And this is, again, that's something that, I think also comes into this aspect of like regenerative, and because that also, it takes them in a very abstract way, if I may, but it takes them less energy to call you than to find someone new.
Yeah,
it's again, that energy, that time is not wasted. It doesn't disappear into thin air, but they know you.
I think once you've hired a designer and then you've had a repo and whatever, you have a thing with that designer, you understand that now you don't have to really figure out something like a new person with a new, unless you're doing, sometimes a lot of things happen that somebody is using one type of architect for their houses, then they use another firm for their commercial work.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
That makes total sense, yes.
But for a house, I think house is a very different ballgame.
Yeah, but we have to also evolve ourselves, like continuously to be able to serve today's generation or the generation to come, right?
Especially the daughter-in-laws. Because you have no connect with them. And, they come
That's
in as
like, touch the pain point.
No, I don't think it's a pain point.
I'm finding out so much these days.
I don't think it's such a pain point, but it's interesting. It's an interesting problem.
No, but I think it's super fascinating to, also think about this of, other people coming into this organism and how that changes. So you always have to be on your toes,
I've had conversation with a 6-year-old. and sort of had a one-on-one discussion
That's
on
amazing.
how the house needs to be designed or the room needs to be designed.
Right.
And then they give you credit that this, I don't like this.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
and-
That's great.
Yeah, and then you go back and
The thing is, they change their brief from Mickey Mouse to Superman. That becomes a.
I mean, at
that's
least
nice.
it stays within a fantastical, universe. That's good.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting. It's like, it's very fascinating to, residence design is a completely different ball game. And because in India, you have to talk to like 20 stakeholders and
Yeah,
their
of course.
relatives and whatever their
Yeah.
suggestions. And then there is Vastu and there's other issues which you need to resolve. But that's why it makes it sort of a lot of layers
Right.
you have to sort of take care of while designing. So it's very fascinating.
Which makes it inherently, more
Yeah.
organic, more
Exactly.
sustainable.
Very, the entire house evolves with, if 2-3 years you've spent
Mm-hmm.
from design till execution, because you are part of the execution. It's not like you give
Yes.
set of drawings and you forget about it. And then it evolves, there are changes and all of that. And I like that process.
Yeah.
I don't like the process in which you just give the drawings and you forget about it.
Right.
Because I think that makes you become a better designer eventually through that process, because you've understood the iteration which you needed to do. Because in first go, you don't understand the client when you're doing for the first time. It's like you're playing blind, right? They don't know you, you don't know them. And then through these iterations, you tend to know each other better. And then obviously, that's why the second house becomes different.
Exactly, which is what I was kind of referring to earlier when I said, it then becomes easier because you also, your client knows you much more. They know more what they want because you helped them the first time.
Yeah, yeah.
So it becomes this beautiful, synergy of being able to work together quickly. And we were talking yesterday a little bit about, I think when they hire you, obviously they are hoping that you anticipate needs that, they might not even know that they have. And sometimes I think that can surprise even the client, right?
Absolutely.
The fact that
Absolutely.
you are like, just, trust me on this. We can like put this material here, or we want to reconfigure this in a certain way. And once they have that trust, it's then so much easier to kind of go with that and evolve and grow together, which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
You mentioned the terrazzo counter, the bar counter. I would love to hear, have you all had a chance to kind of walk around a little bit?
No, I just came last night. So.
Okay. Have you? A little bit? Even if you haven't properly walked around, it can also just be from your kind of personal experience. We were talking about craftspeople and designers, product designers that are doing fantastic things. Have you seen, in your case, the, terrazzo bar counter, but anything, any project, any material that's really interested you that maybe you haven't had a chance to work with? Is there anything exciting that you feel is coming up right now?
I did. We can probably go and see it as well. I think there is one installation that I read about from Murano, right, where it's very interesting that we keep talking about recycling of glass, but here they have actually made an installation from the glass which cannot be recycled.
Right.
Right. So again, taking a material and using it as an art form, right, is quite exciting.
For sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing it at the fair.
I don't understand the question completely. You're talking about what we saw, what we've already seen here, or generally any material? No.
You can say anything. Yes. So because, obviously you get in, you meet so many people.
I'm very, very fascinated about now as a new material, which I want to explore. I haven't done it so much. Wood as a sort of building material, like a construction material. I think that's something which I'm very fascinated about, the entire idea of wood being used as main structural element. We haven't done it. It's very expensive right now in India to do it.
Right.
But this is something which I'm researching on and I'm sort of working towards. I think wood is in that sense very, very sustainable, the most sustainable. It can be reused. You can grow it, no other material can be grown, right? This can be grown. So it's if you work with it intelligently, I think it's a very good material to really look at making buildings and houses and even large buildings out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And it can be it can be completely prefabricated. It can be done on site. We have, I think, in India, and all of us will agree. I think the most intelligent person on site is always the woodworker, the carpenter.
Right.
He knows everything, right?
And we rely on him.
We rely on him, yeah. So I think this tradition of woodwork has always been there, but it's never been used. It was used earlier, but I think it's just we lost it. Now with the technology with, I think that's where I'm really excited.
Yeah.
To
As
work.
you mentioned, we've got, prefab aspect, we've got CLT,
Yeah,
we've got everything,
exactly.
theoretically that we can kind of use to scale it up.
Yeah.
And I think not even, obviously scale, I think is an important factor in all of these material discussions. But I think even on a smaller scale, and you mentioned your stone house, which I'm very excited. Please share images once that's done, because I'm very excited to see it. But even on a smaller scale, this is something that can be so interesting to just test out materials from small to large and just see what reacts and how it shapes.
And I think for us, I think if in India, we need to look at it a little differently, I think, which we haven't done. We are still looking at it as a more sort of clean, simple line kind of a thing. But I think India is all about embellishments and, a little bit more than layering.
More like layering.
More like layering. So I think unless the material sort of and wood is the easiest material to do it.
Right.
And I think once we start doing that, I think it'll become more popular as a material, as a building material. Right now, it's because it can serve multiple purpose. A column or a beam we don't have to again do something on it. We don't have to cover it. We can just do things to it.
And there's also like a warmth and an emotional, I think, resonance that comes with wood, which is very difficult to fabricate with anything else.
Yeah. So I think for me, that's my next go-to.
I was surprised to see rubber as a material. So I saw it at Contardi. They're using it in one of the decorative light fixtures. Though it looks very synthetic, I don't know, difficult to relate to. It's very synthetic.
No, I bet. But does it have any properties that you feel like could be used in innovative, cool ways? For you, in your own practice?
In our own practice?
Yeah.
I think we generally try and stick to the materials that are stone, wood. In fact, we just started working on a project that is
Glue lamp.
You can't glue lamp. So you can't call it sustainable in the real sense, because you are importing it from Canada. So otherwise,
in India, wood will never be. We don't have the culture.
The temperature difference. The weather conditions are too extreme.
These all must be certified woods, right?
Canadian are certified wood, but Indian, there's no Indian wood which is certified. We don't have that process of certifying good wood. Even the CPT which you buy, a lot of it, we don't know how clean it is. We really don't know how clean the wood is in India. So that's a little difficult thing, but I think...
Yeah, but I think it's not only about sustainability anymore. The regenerative aspect that we're talking about is also about that how long would it last?
Yes.
Does it, what is it doing to your wellness, the feel part of it as
if
well?
If you remember, we have used a lot of railway sleepers. You have seen a lot of us, we use those pieces for wooden,
earlier they were all wooden this thing. Now everything is concrete, so they get auctioned in the market, and you can
And that's, again, this is, those are not certified woods.
No.
But no, and I think this is something that I'd love to touch upon, like the policy and the bureaucracy aspect of this, of the sustainability discussion, because I think, I see this a lot in food, for example, where, something isn't organic because it's not organic certified, because the way, even if I started my own farm and I have my own cows and I only feed them local grass and they get, nothing, they're not organic, but they are, and I think this is something that has similar parallels to this wood discussion, where, just because it's not, certified sustainable, it's not a certified wood, it's coming from, the local surroundings. Is there something that you wish on a policy level would loosen to kind of make those regenerative designs more possible?
I think we've all given up on the policy for sure in this country, but I think we've used sleeper. We recently finished a hotel, a very small boutique hotel in Jaipur, and we've not used a single new wood there. Not a single. Everything from doors to cladding to flooring, everything was done by old wood, which was repurposed
Right.
completely. So I think wood has this quality. We can sort of get something, repurpose it to smaller pieces, create something. Nothing of the wood goes waste. You know, even the shaving of the wood can be used. As in now, nobody uses it. I remember when we were young, the last polish was all, and after that you would put wood shavings on the floor.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
now nobody does it. And now we have chemicals to do it. But otherwise, it was all that wooden shaving, and then you do the last polish.
Polishing
with
on, like reutilize it.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Something
So
like that.
all of I remember when a house was getting done, all my wooden shaving was used for the last polish, which was so brilliant. But nobody
Yeah,
uses
and it
it
makes
now.
sense. And it's so sad that this
Yeah.
got lost because
Yeah.
of, you know, really outward facing, like, you know, it's all signaling like, oh, I'm doing, you know, new things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, I think this is something that we need to move away from, right? Which
Yeah.
is this, what we've, you know, mentioned many times now, where it's like, just because it's new, it doesn't have, you know, it's not necessarily good. It's not been tested, like you said earlier.
Yeah, but I think it would be good to have certified wood in India, probably in India, like
Yeah.
because our demand is so much. We are one of the biggest consumers in the world today, right? Because when you don't have certification, you're leaving it to, if there is a demand, that means, you know, something is getting cut for the wrong reasons as well, right? So it would be good to have certified wood, especially coming from within India, right? Like, you know, but let's see.
It's like we are doing like a small set of cottages in the hills, and basically every year in the hills there are some trees which fall and all of that. Now what we're doing now is to go to the forest department. It's not completely clean,
Yeah,
but
can't be.
can't be. But at least it's a fallen tree. It's not a cut tree, as per forest department.
Very important distinction.
Yeah.
It fell, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then you use it, and then you season it on site. So I think this is another part of this entire idea of construction,
Right.
and how we look at now as a fast construction versus slow construction. I
Yes.
think that's a very important thing. I think slow, like when we used to construct earlier, it was not really based on a certain speed or a
Right.
thing. So material requires a certain time to sort of be like to become something. And I think that we're not, and because of that, I think we're using concrete or whatever is all because we want to like shorten the time of construction.
Natural way of
Yeah.
seasoning.
Yes.
So the wood, I think, if you don't have to season it, as in if you leave it for 6 months properly or whatever,
Right.
it's pretty well seasoned. And
Yeah.
Developers listening to us are going to be rejoicing. We're like, what do you mean, no speed?
Yeah. Though in public domain, what happens is that we have to, like, you know, what we are at least trying to do is to use the materials with very good specifications,
Right.
right? It's very, very important. And I think that that's one thing which is, like, you know, very different from West to where we are, right? Like, you know, for example, here, the stone in a public domain would be at least 30 mm to 40 mm thick. Right, on the steps. While in India, even now in metro stations and all, we are still at like 20 mm. And you'll realize that, you know, after 1 or 2 years, the stations have already aged,
Right.
right? And it's time to again refurbish them. So in terms of the specifications and the controls to the public domain buildings have to be much more stringent in my mind,
yeah.
right? Where the basics, we have to really up our specifications on that.
Right. Yeah, because you can't come in with a rule and then not follow through, right?
Yeah.
It's the similar thing that we
Yeah.
discussed earlier where you have to revisit, you know, you have to follow through because
Yeah.
just to make the hurdle difficult to get into and then to not like keep that up is, yeah, there needs to be more follow through on that
Yes,
front. Yeah, I agree with you.
absolutely.
For sure. Did you want to comment on that as well? The policy bureaucracy aspect of things, the joyful.
No, I think, see, for us, design is luxury. In our part of the world, design is luxury. Like you see it, you know, it's part of your lifestyle. But for us, you know,
Right.
So I think people who are making, you know, the bureaucracy, they themselves are probably not aware, or I would say, you know, they're not, they haven't experienced design in that sense, and it's an integral part of building a city, building something.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially in urban contexts, that's something that, you know, we were speaking yesterday a little bit about green lungs and I think especially in India, one of your colleagues had a great line, which was that, you know, cities are choking in terms of just the sheer amount of people. And as you say, you know, design, you are completely right, is a luxury. We had a session yesterday where we were talking about luxury and, you know, talking about building palaces and everything. And it was so interesting because we had a, you know, broad panel of people, and one end was like, well, luxury is, you know, like having a clean bed. And for the other people, it's, you know, oh, you know, this needs to be gold, or the chandelier needs to be antique from Paris. So I think this is a very true thing, is, you know, the bureaucracy needs to kind of attach to a level that's
I think there has
broader.
been, in terms of policy, I think in 60s and 70s, there were some policies made, okay? And there was certain specification, what we have in our schedule of rates and whatever. Those now are completely outdated.
Right.
And they haven't been upgraded or updated. I think that's where the problem is. So there is National Building Code, which keeps getting upgraded, but that's just rules or whatever of building.
Right.
But most of the specifications and the new materials and all of that have not. So I was working very closely with an organization which works with bamboo, and I was part for a couple of meetings. So the problem is that bamboo is not considered as a building material. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Now
Kingo Kuma would disagree.
Yeah, I know. and so it comes under Ministry of Agriculture.
Right. Okay.
So we were having meeting with Ministry of Agriculture to try to make them understand that actually it needs to
That's so interesting.
sort of become a building material, because it's only used as scaffolding. There is no specification given. So with this organization, we sort of helped them figure out certain specification to put building to. Now bamboo is part of the specification in Delhi, in the schedule of rates.
That's amazing.
And you finally got a rate. So for example, in some northeastern state, it was always part.
Right.
But in the main, this thing, it was not a part of it. But then we could sort of help them formulate. So we didn't do the entire thing, but we helped them formulate a couple of specifications with this organization, and then they eventually got it into the system.
Which comes back to your point of educating. I think it's maybe also a question of, you know, bringing together policymakers and really like making them understand on a granular level, on a material level, what it means to make these changes and how that could positively impact, you know, because in the end, that's the bottom line, right? Is what is the positive impact for them, for the policy, for the city making. So I think to make that understandable in small bites.
Also, a lot of construction in India is also done by government.
Yeah, exactly.
And the government construction completely relies on that book of, you know, rates
Codes,
and schedules and codes, right? And unless you don't get materials updated there, you will never be able to. So obviously you can tell them that some material is not there, then you get a market research and then you submit to them. All of that process is there, but if it's already there, it's just easier to sort of, you know, I think we did with the government, it never got built, but we did in like 20 years back, we did a government building completely made out of bamboo. And got approved and we made all the drawings, but then the project shelved. But the idea was to push a new material with the government, try to convince them. And it was locally available there because it was a northeastern state. So it is a thing which grows abundantly.
Right.
And it's very, very good material.
And it would have been a great precedent to them.
Exactly.
Because I think once you have one, right?
Because if the government builds, it becomes an example for a regular person to understand, okay, this is what the building is about. You know, if they make their main headquarters out of steel and glass, then people think this is the modern thing to do.
Exactly.
But if they make it out of bamboo, and they will understand, okay, this is, and they've been building with bamboo always, but their aspiration changes because what government does or what a developer does. So their aspiration, if they say bamboo is good and it can be used differently, then they will all start sort of re-looking at.
Relooking. This is again like such a nice kind of closing loop to this idea of re-examining materials, right? Re-examining craftsmanship, re-examining ideas to be on a very abstract level of thinking about structure, of thinking about form, of thinking about material, which I think we can all agree from what we've discussed is the ultimate way to be sustainable, to be regenerative, not just by sticking new labels on it, but by looking back in order to be able to look forward.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you all. I think that was a lovely note to end on.
Thank you.
Do you want to answer the fun question also? Okay, perfect. We'll do the fun question. Which, yeah, I thought I'd, prepare a little bit of a fun question because we are in a, dreamy space. And if the question is, and you can be as free and crazy as you'd like with this, but if you could design a room of dreams with no limitations, what is the first element that you would place? We can start with you and work towards.
Light. That
Yep.
is the first element.
Light. Love it.
Me? Okay. This is something that I have given ideas to the clients again and again.
Now,
And it has never happened, and I'm going to like pour my heart
Please.
out.
We are going to manifest it now so that the clients hopefully
So,
pick up on it in the future.
I've always wondered, we use all kind of materials on the floor, and that's the being, right? The first thing
Right.
that comes is the floor. And I always wanted to have an art floor,
Ooh.
right? And everybody asked me, like a marble art, right? You pour and then let it take
Oh, I
its
thought you meant like
shape.
paintings.
Yeah,
I
you
was
want to
like,
make a
interesting.
painting, right? And then I said, somebody asked me, what are you going to make and
Right.
show me a view? I said, I have no view, right? It's just going to get made.
Yeah.
So then I've been thinking, what if the floor was like a turntable, right? And you just pour the materials
Yes.
and let it take its form. And that's where the floor would be. And then you don't need, according to me, then you don't need anything else, right? It's like the basis set.
Yeah.
And then I would do, this would be my first element to come.
Very nice. I like it.
Yeah.
you're very fascinated by flooring, I can see.
Yes, she loves the floor and stone and like potpourris of stone.
Yeah. I think
We'll make it
there's
happen
so much
for
of
you.
drama that can happen
Yeah.
with that.
This will make it happen for you
Yeah.
in a
Thank
project
you.
to come.
Absolutely.
I thought that I'll skip this one,
Yes.
but what comes to me is darkness, so that I can dream better.
One is light.
Oh, I like that.
Flooring,
Room, take everything away so that the imagination can roam free. I love that. Thank you all so much.
Thank
that
you
was
very
a
much.
great
It was great.
conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That was
thank
lovely.
you.